After a year wait and almost 20 years in the making, Christopher Nolan's next film, The Odyssey, is finally released, which is a major accomplishment in the history of film, and also a lifelong dream that Nolan wanted to pursue apparently finally comes into reality.
This is the movie to do it with. I've wanted to shoot an entire film on IMAX for a very long time. I mean, really since I was about 16 and I first started seeing documentaries in museums like the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago.
And it is the #1 film right now, Matt Damon's highest-grossing film his entire career, and the fastest film to get to the 1 million watch club in Letterboxd.
The Odyssey is definitely the biggest movie that I've ever done in my career. It was like making a movie the way we would have made it 100 years ago, except for the fact that it's on IMAX.
The first Hollywood feature film, entirely filmed in IMAX. Now, since seeing the first teaser of The Odyssey and finding out at the end of it that the entire film is shot with IMAX film cameras, I got very excited for it. And of course, with the success of various other films that were filmed in 70mm other than IMAX, with mainly in VistaVision, including The Brutalist, Begonia, and the recently Academy-winning film One Battle After Another. I mean, apparently somehow this shows that film is really making a comeback. I've saw some of Christopher Nolan's films in IMAX since Dunkirk back in 2017, and I could have saw Tenet in IMAX, but that happened during the pandemic. And I did see Oppenheimer in the theaters apparently 3 years ago, and obviously that film would later get Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Here was nominated, and many people were wondering what he's going to do next with his next project. And of course, there were hints that he was going to film his next film in Greece. Of course, the setting of the Odyssey, and of course, Christopher Nolan kind of championed IMAX, would lead to other directors probably using the technology, both film and digital cameras, including J.J. Abrams, Denis Villeneuve, and also Jordan Peele. Here's some of the actors in The Odyssey giving a background about IMAX.
First film to be shot entirely with IMAX film cameras, using new IMAX camera technology. Each film frame has 15 perforations, runs horizontally through the projector, making it the largest format available. Every frame was shot in IMAX, and when you're in the theater, you'll feel the full impact of how it was shot. So you'll be on The Odyssey with all of us.
The Odyssey is the first feature film ever shot entirely with IMAX film cameras, so you'll see every frame in IMAX. The film was shot and designed to be experienced on the biggest screen possible, and IMAX delivers on this. It fills your entire field of vision, immersing you fully for the best cinematic experience.
IMAX produces the highest resolution image at 18K for its film camera. Even though seeing a film shot in IMAX on Blu-ray looks high quality, seeing it in IMAX allows you to see the sharpness of IMAX film, that you can see very small details in front of your face. Christopher Nolan has a long history with IMAX, beginning in 2007 with The Dark Knight. He had select scenes filmed in IMAX, making it the first Hollywood feature film partially shot in IMAX. Since then, Nolan worked with IMAX to develop the technology which allowed him to shoot more IMAX footage in his films. The reason why an entire film wasn't able to be filmed entirely in IMAX at the time is due to various limitations, including the cameras being loud and heavy, and one roll of film can only shoot 3 minutes.
Cameras themselves are very loud. You know, they're taking a very large amount of film, 65mm film, running at 15 perforations per frame. This film has to transport through the camera very, very fast. It creates an enormous amount of noise. We would always use it for action scenes because noise wasn't really a factor. We were building the soundtrack afterwards, but for dialogue scenes, that made it impossible.
My first time working on IMAX was with Chris, and I remember thinking, gosh, it's loud.
Nolan also experimented with the IMAX film cameras, like attaching them to planes in Dunkirk, his cinematographer holding them handheld since Interstellar, adjusting the mechanics to allow them to shoot backwards in Tenet, and shooting in black and white with Oppenheimer. For The Odyssey, Nolan and IMAX were finally able to solve the problem of shooting dialogue scenes without the noise by developing a cover, or what they call a blimp, even though that it still adds weight to the camera.
I'm thinking, is that what it's going to sound like when we shoot our scenes? That's really distracting. And then they brought the blimp out.
And so we challenged them to build new cameras and build a blimping system that we could place an IMAX camera in and mute the sound of the camera sufficiently that we could shoot an intimate dialogue scene, have the camera very close to the actors, and have them not only be able to record the dialogue, but also have them be able to perform in the way they need to perform without the distraction of, a very loud camera.
This happened after they filmed some of those scenes with the blimp.
Really, after we did the first of those quiet scenes, at that point, Oja and I looked at each other and said, yeah, we're going to do the whole film this way. If we can do this stuff, then we can get everything. And he and his guys found a way to get all of the different things we needed for the narrative.
For sure, getting tickets to the film is going to be very hard since there's like a limited amount of theaters showing the film in IMAX 70mm. That they actually even like sold the advance tickets a year before the film was released, and then a month before the film was released. I mean, like apparently the tickets were sold out very fast. Surprised I was actually able to get a ticket to the very first screening of the film in IMAX 70mm at the Cineplex Cinemas Langley, which the usual theater in my area where apparently they would show IMAX films in 70mm film. Whereas back in the day, there was also Silver Riverport, which for a while did not show films in IMAX 70mm. But IMAX apparently repaired many of the projectors that were not operational the past few years. And because of that, they were able to apparently show the film in more theaters in cities, especially in Canada, where it was really only going to be shown in two theaters, Cineplex Cinemas Langley and the Cineplex Cinemas in Woodbridge. So on July 16th, 2026, I was on my way to Cineplex Cinemas in Langley, where it was kind of probably a sunny and cloudy day, and although later in the day there would apparently there would be a thunderstorm, kind of in the theme of the Odyssey. And I got there an hour early, which initially thought it was not very busy, even though it is a sold out screening. But as the hour progressed, apparently a lot of Christopher Nolan fanboys and IMAX fanboys apparently came into the theater, and this was a big event, and for seeing a film probably in 70mm. I mean, for sure, it's kind of like going to see a play or a musical. All of us were kind of talking about IMAX and Christopher Nolan, also the historical significance of the Odyssey, and we were kind of very passionate about film, and especially IMAX film, and we were probably about to see something like the way Christopher Nolan intended to be shown. Originally, I was going to go to the theater a few weeks earlier to kind of talk to the staff about the showings of the film in there, and as well as talk to the projectionists about it, and also preparing the film, and also demonstrating the assembly of the 70mm film. But somehow they told me that they were not going to allow anyone to go inside the projection room. But a few minutes before the screening began, the staff actually allowing some of us to actually go inside the projection room, and I was actually able to do that. So what you're going to see in the next few minutes is me going inside the projection room, as well as kind of talking to the manager of Cineplex Cinemas Langley about the historical significance of the Odyssey, plus also talk a bit with the projectionists about it, and seeing the projectionists also kind of doing last minute adjustments and assembling the film into the projector. So how did all of you get ready for the for the showing of the film?
Well, we have a third-party company, so 6 weeks ago they started coming in to do stuff.
And they assembled the film as well too?
Yeah. They do everything here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes lots of maintenance.
Yeah. Oh yeah, at least the theater's still maintained, and here it is. Wow. This smells like the 1990s. Here's the projector. Ooh.
Last group here. And that's Ingrid.
Hello, Ingrid.
She's our technician today. That's the film projector. One's over there.
Yep. Ooh. You're excited for the Odyssey?
Pardon?
You're excited for the Odyssey?
Yeah.
This is going to be very historic.
said he had to cut half an hour from the Odyssey, right? That's so tough.
Wait for the extended cut, I guess.
I guess.
Maybe on the Blu-ray, possibly, at least, yeah.
Yeah.
The film is starting to really make a comeback. Okay. After finally getting popcorn and a drink, I finally got to my seat in a fully sold out theater. And at 2 p.m., the manager went inside and made a speech.
Everyone hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I bought this off Amazon. I'm not. Amazon, but it works. My voice kind of hurting. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Hans. I'm the general manager for Cineplex Langley. Some of you guys might have seen me here roaming around, do nothing. That's me. But we did a lot of work here to get this place ready to go for you guys. I don't view IMAX 70mm movies as such a fit as a film as an event. So for the last 6 weeks, we've been cleaning the projection screen, seats are all good to go, projections for sure. So basically everyone's gonna have this. I have a script, and as a bad memory, I don't remember anything. So just gonna wing it. That's what we do. So yeah, again, thank you so much for being here today. 7mm is, if you guys did not know already, this is the very first film that's fully filmed with an IMAX film projector. You guys know a 70mm film projector. You guys know that? Yeah. Right now. So good. Well, there was a challenge by Chris Nolan because the film projectors are so noisy you can't pick up dialogue. So he's like, you see in Richmond. So if you live in Richmond like I do, that's also a place you can go to. But Langley is the best. That's right. Somebody asked me how long has this been here. It's been since 1999. I was very young, and it's still a great place to be. It's a great place for everyone to be here and enjoy the show here. Do you guys know when the next 70mm film is going to be?
Bigger?
June 3. I bring it up because Ingrid back there has loaded up the 70mm version of the June 3 prologue.
Ooh.
Okay. The one only zero will lead into the feature presentation. If you guys don't know already, 7mm doesn't carry the 20 minutes of ads and trailers because the reel will be falling off the floor. So, hey, we need money, man. So there you go. But speaking of money, thank you for all your support for us, from IMAX, from Cineplex. Thank you for waiting in line to get us food and all that stuff. It really means a lot. For your continued support, that means there's be more of this for everyone to enjoy. Without further ado, I'll ask Ingrid to roll up the prologue and then on to the feature presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, so apparently I just saw the Odyssey, the IMAX 70mm film, and apparently it was great. It might actually be like Christopher Nolan's best film, and apparently like it could actually possibly get Best Picture of the Academy Awards this year, and also probably open the floodgates of more films being filmed in IMAX 70mm film. I mean, it does have everything you would expect in a Christopher Nolan film, and I mean, the structure was kind of similar to Oppenheimer, which, yeah, a lot more to say about the films. I'll probably talk about that once I get back to the house. So the film is straightforward, where you have Odysseus, Matt Damon's character, trying to get back home while his adoptive son, played by Tom Holland, tries to find him, while the people around him apparently think that he passed away, although we know that Odysseus is still alive. And I mean, so with Odysseus was probably the main person. I mean, like, kind of like his adoptive son is probably kind of, you could say, like a supporting character, and they were both great in the film, as well as everyone else in the film. And as with covered many of the films of Christopher Nolan, there are also cameos, but I'm not going to say what those cameos are because it will probably give away the film. And maybe a lot of the people in the film will probably get nominations at the Academy Award this year. And it probably may get at least one award at least. At the same time, also probably getting Best Picture. Well, there was a scene where apparently when like one of Odyssey's soldiers apparently sees various animals, first it cuts to like the soldier, and then after that it cuts to a random shot of a lion, and that's a section in the film is probably like the most interesting section of the film. Yeah, but since the film was filmed entirely in IMAX, so apparently it's kind of like if you're actually there, and I mean, like, based on some reports that I kind of saw of various other audience members that apparently saw the film in different formats, including regular 70mm film. Apparently, since the film was intended to be seen in IMAX, apparently, somehow that the image is cropped, and somehow various details can be missing. But at least for the Blu-ray version, they might present the film in the IMAX aspect ratio of 1.43, or they will probably present it in like 1.78, which might show most of the image, but it might still cut out some details. But at least when I saw like the Blu-ray of Oppenheimer, I mean, you kind of see everything at least. I mean, some things might have been cut out, but I mean, at least it's all the important information is still shown on screen. Of course, a lot of practical effects were kind of used during the making of the film. And, I mean, there might have been a bit of visual effects in the film, but I mean, or they might have been all practical, possibly at least. But I mean, so then after the film, apparently, I talked to various people in the audience, which were mainly like Christopher Nolan fanboys and IMAX fanboys. And apparently some of them were like kind of like complaining about the thing which usually happens in the films of Christopher Nolan, where apparently like somebody can't hear like the dialogue of the characters in the film, although from all like the films that he made that I saw in IMAX 70mm, apparently I can still apparently like hear the audio. I mean, like, and I mean there was some whispering too, but at least you can probably hear it a bit. But although there are some scenes where it was maybe intended you probably be able to hear the dialogue, because it's the idea of what's happening at least. And we also kind of talked about like this film would probably might be actually to be his best film, and apparently, well, I mean, it would be around like the original, let's say maybe with Oppenheimer and Interstellar, which all great films too. And I mean, and Ludwig Göransson's score of the film apparently was great. I mean, he might get an Academy Award for the score, and I mean, parts of it kind of had like the vibes of, let's say, the score of Star Wars The Mandalorian, which he also did the score for the recent film following the show, Star Wars The Mandalorian Grogu. Because another thing also with Christopher Nolan's films, of course, there's the thing where like something sounds like a ticking time bomb, and but that happens actually a lot in this film, in a sense, and it does like kind of get you like excited of what's happening, and like you're kind of wondering what's gonna happen, and yeah, I mean, Mr. Nolan really made a film that probably like that has to be seen in a theater. I mean, and the film was also dedicated to David Keeley, who was probably a key figure in IMAX, and also kind of like making it kind of what it is. I mean, he also did work with Christopher Nolan during his career, probably filming his films, well, in the beginning, partially in IMAX, and then up to this point, now entirely in IMAX. And apparently he passed away recently, and apparently he was involved with the production of the Odyssey, at least near the end of its production.
David Keeley, my IMAX mentor of 20 years, who passed very sadly after he finished his work on the Odyssey, and who the new camera they built, the Keeley, is named after. He actually dragged me into the booth at some point in this film to show me the final limitation of this 3-hour limit on the film prints, because over the years I challenged him to enlarge the platters or came up with a clip system to hold the film end, when it got a bit bigger than the platter, that kind of thing. But there's a particular arm that, would require an entire rebuild of the projection system to get beyond that. So I finally said to him, yeah, okay, I'll stay under 3 hours.
The fun fact, apparently also David Keeley is also like the father of Jeff Keeley, which you probably know from like the Video Game Awards and Summer Games Fest. And I was kind of thinking there's a possibility that he could dedicate the film to David. And apparently it actually did, because at the end of the film there you see the little dedication, so pretty much I called it. And yeah, apparently something that probably like it was impossible back then of filming an entire feature film in IMAX apparently is now made possible. And after we saw the film, apparently and you can probably see this behind me, but apparently they gave us like a free poster, which is probably like the biggest poster involving a film in IMAX, which they're kind of like made it that big to kind of make the illusion of the size of the screen when you see it in like IMAX. And before the film began, apparently they also showed pretty much the first few minutes of the last Dune film with Dune Part 3, and before they showed that first look, apparently they showed a little message from the person that made the film series, Denis Villeneuve, a fellow Canadian Quebecois. And apparently he also mentioned Christopher in his message, and I mean, like, probably somehow with the release of the Odyssey, they somehow decided to kind of put the first look before the film begins, which is actually only seen in like in the version of the film in IMAX 70mm, and it appears somehow that for this last film, apparently it is filmed entirely on film, with some scenes filmed in IMAX, which from basically kind of seeing the footage of it, I mean, apparently this one's probably gonna be more grittier than the first two halves of the film, which it's kind of like, it does have that gritty look, and this is probably going to be probably a different type of film compared to the first two films, and well, wonder how it's all going to end. I mean, it would be kind of very surprising if that film does get nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards next year, or and probably maybe actually get Best Picture. I mean, there's also Alejandro González Iñárritu's next film, Digger, starring Tom Cruise, which, from basically seeing the preview of that film, so far, it's pretty much The Phoenician Scheme, directed by Alejandro González Iñárritu. Right? I mean, Tom Cruise might actually get Best Actor at the Academy Awards next year for that film. And again, I'd like to say a very special thanks to the staff at Cineplex Cinemas Langley for kind of allowing me and various other people in the audience to kind of see the projection room, which is probably like, haven't seen the IMAX projector in a very long time, because back in the day you could actually see the projection at work, but somehow they then covered it, and then after a very long wait, apparently finally get to see that projector again, and also very close too. And I also kind of had the honor of kind of seeing the first feature-length film shot entirely in IMAX. I mean, like, if you do get the chance to see the Odyssey in IMAX 7mm, probably go see it. I mean, the way Christopher Nolan intended the film to be shown, and I might see it again with various other people while it's still showing. But what are your thoughts on the Odyssey, and do you think that this could lead to the floodgates being open to more films being filmed in IMAX 7mm film? Well, you can put your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed me going through like the historical significance of the film, you could probably like the video, subscribe to my channel, I'll talk more about film and various other things. And with that, I'm Jared and I'll see you later. Bye, everyone.